Cortes, with a large silver maguey, occupies her splendid shrine. The priest retired, and put on his robes, and then returning, and all kneeling before the altar, he recited the Credo. This over, he mounted the steps, and opening the shrine where the Virgin was encased, knelt down and removed her into his arms. He then presented her to each of us in succession, every one kissing the hem of her satin robe. She was afterwards replaced with the same ceremony. The image is a wooden doll, about a foot high, holding in its arms an infant Jesus, both faces evidently carved with a rude penknife, the holes for the eyes and another for the mouth. This doll was dressed in blue satin and pearls, with a crown upon her head, and a quantity of hair fastened onto the crown. No Indian idol could be much uglier. As she has been a good deal scratched and destroyed in the lapse of ages, C n observed that he was astonished they had not tried to restore her a little. To this the padre replied that the attempt had been made by several artists, each one of whom had sickened and died. He also mentioned as one of her miracles that living on a solitary mountain she had never been robbed, but I fear the good padre is somewhat oblivious, as this sacrilege has happened more than once. On one occasion a crowd of léperos being collected, and the image carried round to be kissed, one of them, affecting intense devotion, bit off the large pearl that adorned her dress in front, and before the theft was discovered, he had mingled with the crowd and escaped. When reminded of the circumstance, the padre said it was true, but that the thief was a Frenchman. After taking leave of the Virgin, we visited the padre in his own old house, attached to the church, where his only attendant, as usual among padres, is an old woman. We then made our way on foot down a steep hill, stopping to admire some noble stone arches, the remains of an aqueduct built by the Spaniards for conveying water from one mountain to the other, and with an Indian for our guide, visited a newly discovered though anciently opened mine, said to be of silver, and which had until lately been covered with rubbish. We groped through it, and found vaults and excavations, and a deep pit of water. C n got some Indians to break off pieces of stone for him, which were put into a sack and sent home for examination. We were so tired of our walk down the steep and mountainous path, that on our return I mounted a horse with a man's saddle belonging to one of the servants, and contrived to keep on while it climbed up the perpendicular ascent. As this seemed rather a selfish proceeding, while the others walked, I invited Señora to mount also in front, which she did, and the path being almost perpendicular, my head nearly touched the ground, which certainly made the seat not over safe or easy. However, we reached the top of the mountain in safety, though somewhat exhausted with laughing, and were driven home with the speed of a rail car. End of letter the 15th.